The movie opens in New York. John, a seemingly ordinary homeless man, sitting quietly on a subway train lost in thought. The calm is broken when a gang of young thugs enters the train looking for trouble. They begin harassing passengers, bumping into them and provoking fights. As one of the passengers attempts to pull a gun, the gang leader Anton fearlessly brushes it off. Anton notices John, a man who appears too vulnerable to fight back. He approaches John, mocks him, and tries to steal his alcohol. But to his surprise, John grabs his hand in a vice-like grip. Anton, unfazed, still teases John, unaware that this homeless man is more dangerous than he looks. As Anton's gang corners John, the quiet storm begins to rage. In a flash, John swiftly disables the group, hitting pressure points, breaking hands, and kneeing them, leaving them gasping for breath. By the end of it, the thugs lie incapacitated, and John is escorted to the police station. At the station, Officer Carter reviews the security footage of John's takedown and enters the interrogation room, where John sits in silence. With a smirk, she remarks that he should have thrown a few more punches for her. But John remains silent. Officer Carter, intrigued by his quiet demeanor, decides to find out more about him. She offers him water, subtly leaving his fingerprints on the cup, and runs it through their database. What she finds shocks her. John has been involved in numerous crimes around the world, with active arrest warrants in 4 different countries. He's not an ordinary man. Before Carter can dig deeper, a mysterious lawyer arrives securing John's release. The lawyer brings John to a secluded high-tech location where he meets Finch, a wealthy, enigmatic man who seems to know everything about John's troubled past. Finch, with calm certainty, tells John that he is on a self-destructive path, attempting to drink himself into oblivion. But Finch has a proposition, a job that might just give John a sense of purpose again. Finch explains that after the 9/11 attacks, the government hired him to build a machine that uses surveillance data from cameras and microphones across the country to predict crimes. The machine produces 2 kinds of lists, one for potential terrorist threats and another for ordinary crimes. While the government disregards the latter, Finch has built a backdoor into the system to access this list. However, the machine only provides social security numbers, not details about the nature of the crime or whether the person will be a victim or perpetrator. Finch asks John to work with him, to help save lives by investigating the people the machine identifies. John, at first skeptical, dismisses Finch, thinking he's just a rich man with too much time on his hands. John initially walks away from the offer, but Finch refuses to give up. Later that night, while John is staying in a hotel, he is tormented by the sound of a recorded murder playing through the walls, courtesy of Finch. The message is clear. John has suffered the pain of losing loved ones whom he couldn't save in the past. Confronted with this emotional turmoil, John reluctantly agrees to work with Finch. The first case. Finch gives John his first assignment: follow a woman named Henson, whose social security number came up. The problem is, Finch can't tell if Henson is the victim or the perpetrator of a crime. John begins tailing her, investigating her connections. He narrows down 2 potential threats: a lawyer named Wheeler, who used to date Henson, and a gangster named Pope, whom Henson sent to prison. John learns that Henson believes Pope is protecting his younger brother Michael by taking the fall for a crime. Through this investigation, John uncovers a web of corruption involving dirty cops led by Detective Fusco. These cops are not only involved in covering up crimes, but are also responsible for setting innocent people up to take the fall. As John delves deeper, he discovers that Henson herself is working with the corrupt cops, who are involved in a larger criminal conspiracy. Henson orders the cops to kill Wheeler, thinking he's investigating too much. However, John arrives just in time, taking down the dirty cops and rescuing Wheeler. In a final twist, John blackmails Fusco into working for him as an inside man within the police force. The next number Finch gives John belongs to a girl named Teresa, presumed dead after her father's mental breakdown and murder-suicide years ago. But the machine indicates that Teresa is alive, and John sets out to find her. Using his sharp investigative skills, John tracks Teresa, only to find that she has been living on the streets, stealing credit card information to survive. John also discovers that her family's death was no accident, but rather a hit orchestrated by her uncle, Derek, who stood to gain financially from their demise. As John tries to protect Teresa, they are ambushed by an assassin hired by Derek. After a tense standoff, John kills the hitman, saving Teresa. Realizing the full extent of her uncle's betrayal, Teresa decides to testify against him, ensuring justice for her family. The machine's next number belongs to a man named Joey, a decorated war veteran now working as a groom at a local hotel. John begins following him, soon discovering that Joey is involved in a string of bank robberies, operating alongside a group of former soldiers who have turned to crime. As John observes Joey, he notices that this is no ordinary criminal. Joey has a code, an honor system instilled from his time in the military. He is only participating in these crimes to support the daughter of his fallen comrade, ensuring she has the financial security to grow up comfortably. Despite Finch's suggestion to turn Joey over to the authorities before things escalate, John chooses a different path. He wants to understand how a man like Joey, with his valor and honor, could end up as part of a criminal enterprise. John goes undercover and infiltrates the gang. John integrates himself into the group, posing as a new driver after orchestrating the arrest of their previous getaway driver. He quickly learns that Joey isn't the real mastermind. Sam, their former sergeant, is running the operation and pulling the strings. Sam has used his position to exploit the loyalty of these men, manipulating their sense of brotherhood for his own gain. Carter, while reviewing surveillance footage from one of the robberies, spots John, recognizing his silhouette as he saved a security guard from making a fatal mistake during the heist. She grows more suspicious of John's activities. The gang prepares for one final job, a high-stakes robbery targeting sensitive case files tied to a mysterious figure named Elias. Finch warns John that Sam is setting the team up to be killed, and John scrambles to stop the heist before it's too late. In a tense showdown, John manages to save Joey and advises him to flee the city, but Sam is killed by the very system he exploited. After the dust settles, John reflects on the cost of loyalty, honor, and the blurred line between good and evil. He vows to continue his mission, knowing that the machine will provide more names and more lives to save. The next number belongs to Dr. Tillman, a successful and respected surgeon with a dark secret. John begins monitoring her, expecting her to be a potential victim. But as he digs deeper, he realizes that Tillman isn't the prey, she's the predator. Dr. Tillman spends her days saving lives, but her nights are filled with vengeance. She is stalking a man named Andrew, a predator who escaped justice years ago. John discovers that Andrew had assaulted Tillman's sister during their college years, leading her sister to take her own life. The system had failed to convict Andrew, but Tillman had no intention of letting him walk free again. John watches as Dr. Tillman's plan unfolds. She has purchased chemicals capable of dissolving a body, and John realizes she intends to kill Andrew and make him disappear without a trace. While John understands her desire for revenge, he knows that if she crosses this line, she will lose herself. In a tense confrontation, John intervenes just as Tillman is about to kill Andrew. He convinces her to let go of her anger, reminding her that her sister wouldn't want her to destroy herself over this. Reluctantly, she spares Andrew's life. John takes Andrew to an undisclosed location, where he contemplates whether people like him deserve a second chance. The scene ends with John leaving Andrew to his fate, unresolved about whether true justice was served. The machine's next number belongs to Samuel Gates, a well-known judge with a reputation for being tough on crime. At first, John believes that Samuel himself is the target, but soon he realizes it's the judge's son who is in danger. A group of Eastern European gangsters, known as SP9, kidnaps the boy and demands that Judge Gates rule in favor of their associate, Angela, in an upcoming trial. John attempts to stop the kidnapping but is shot during the struggle, allowing the criminals to take the boy. The judge, panicked and desperate, receives a call from the kidnappers demanding that he play along with their plan. John steps in, telling the judge that he will help, but Gates is unsure whether to trust him. While John investigates, Finch traces the calls from the kidnappers. John discovers that SP9 has been expanding its operations globally, using sophisticated technology to move money and commit crimes. The judge is forced to stall the trial, playing for time while John works to track down his son's location. John eventually locates one of the gang members and, after a brutal interrogation, uncovers a hideout where the boy is being kept. However, when John arrives, he finds the place empty. Meanwhile, the judge's trial reaches its conclusion, and he is forced to rule in Angela's favor, freeing her from all charges. The kidnappers called Gates and told him where to pick up his son. John arrived just in time to stop the gang from killing the boy. In a dramatic standoff, John revealed that Angela had been working with SP9, helping them launder money by manipulating bank software. He also revealed that Angela turned off the algorithm for 3 minutes every morning in the bank, freezing the account so that SP9 could perform their transactions. The gang boss seems that the whole operation is burned, so he orders his guys to kill everybody. This led to a shootout with the bad guys losing. Eventually, Finch handed over some evidence to a lawyer so they could send Angela to prison, while the police found her tied up along with the gangsters. John's next case involves Zoe Morgan, a woman who operates in the shadows as a fixer, someone who solves problems for powerful people by any means necessary. John goes undercover as her driver, learning about her dangerous connections and the secrets she holds. Zoe is being targeted by Mark Lawson, an heir to a massive pharmaceutical empire, after she retrieved incriminating evidence linking him to an illegal affair. Zoe has also uncovered a deadly scandal involving one of Lawson's drugs, which has a dangerously high mortality rate. Meanwhile, another shadowy storyline unfolds. The police discover the body of a man tied to a cold case, the murder of Marlene Elias. Detective Carter, determined to uncover the truth, reaches out to a former colleague who had worked the case. They reveal that Marlene was a waitress at a nightclub owned by a mafia don. Marlene had an affair with this powerful man, but when she pressured him to leave his wife, the don hired a hitman to silence her. The newly discovered corpse is that of the very hitman who carried out the murder. Protected by the mafia, the case had been buried. Until now. Marlene and the mafia don had a son, who may be seeking vengeance. He could be the one who stole the case file in earlier episodes and executed the hitman, bringing long overdue justice to his mother's memory. Back in Zoe's world, as John and Zoe work together to expose Lawson, they find themselves in a high-stakes game of cat and mouse. The pharmaceutical company had been conducting illegal drug trials, covering up the deaths of participants to push their product to market. John and Zoe manage to recover files proving the company's guilt, but they are captured before they can release the information. In a final twist, Zoe reveals that she had been planning for this all along. She had secretly mailed copies of the incriminating files to trusted allies, ensuring that even if they were killed, the truth would come out. John manages to free himself and Zoe, taking down Lawson and bringing the pharmaceutical company's crimes to light. As they part ways, John warns Zoe to stay out of trouble, but she simply smiles, knowing that trouble is her business.